Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
He's alive!
Welcome to Where the Weird Ones Are.
Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Powerful figures in Hollywood as well as powerful politicians who are in fact not human. They're reptiles or they're lizards or perhaps extraterrestrials.
I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Let's get weird.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin, but you probably already knew that, and if you didn't, well, now you do. So today's episode is with Timothy Arnwine. He is an author and paranormal investigator. He actually founded Haunted South Florida. He wrote a few books. So he wrote Ghost Hunting, Getting Started, and a couple others. I know he wrote one on autism. His son is autistic, so it's basically from a father's point of view. But I just want to read you. So he wrote a part 2 to Ghost Hunting, Getting Started. So you can find all of his books on Amazon. But I just wanted to give you a couple reviews from his first one. So this one is a 5-star rating, and it says, each page is detailed and interesting. I learned a great deal and gained a better understanding. Highly recommend this book. And then you got this one is, I am the founder, lead investigator of Supernatural Investigators of Minnesota. This book covers all aspects of being a great paranormal investigator. It's a beginner's training manual for all our new investigators, outlined perfectly. And then lastly, I have very well written and informative. Thank you. So those are just a couple of reviews. They were all 5 stars. So if you're interested, definitely go check out his books. He's been investigating for 20 plus years, and he has a lot of experience under his belt. He used to be a EMS, and yeah, I really enjoyed our conversation. Extremely lovely person. So very knowledgeable and does not in the slightest have an ego like most people that are in like lead positions typically have. So it was very nice to talk to him. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoy the things that he has to say and some of his personal stories. So yeah, he brought a lot of people together, a really good group together for Haunted South Florida. If you don't know, I've had almost all of the people involved with that group on. So you got Christina, Callie, Gina, Arnie. They're all a part of Haunted South Florida. So anyways, let me know what you think. And as always, if you're interested in being on the show, you want to talk about ghosts, you want to talk about conspiracies, you want to talk about Bigfoot, anything supernatural, paranormal, anything weird, definitely hit me up at wheretheweirdonesare@gmail.com. You can also follow my Instagram at where_the_weird_ones_are. I'm extremely active on my Instagram, so you can definitely get a hold of me on there if you don't feel like emailing me. So with that, I will say you can head on over to 16%.com if you're interested in any kind of cryptid merchandise, and you can they have some really some really cute cryptid plushies. I know cryptids, when you encounter cryptids out in the wild, it's not very cute, but these plushies definitely are cute. So you can head on over there, and if you are enticed to buy something, you can use my code Stay Weird, and it would help out the show. If you're interested in helping out the show, please like, share, and subscribe, because that is how you help the show fucking grow, bro. I'm not interested in making money off of this, but if I do, that's cool too. So I enjoy everybody that's been on. I enjoy putting this out and putting this all together. So it's fun for me, and I will continue to do so as long as people are interested in A, coming on, B, listening. So if you don't mind, I would enjoy a 5-star rating. Obviously, if you don't think it deserves 5 stars, don't fucking give me 5 stars. And with that, everybody, stay weird.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. And weird get weird.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. Today, I have Timothy Arnwine. He is an author and a paranormal investigator. He is. Did you start Haunted South Florida?
Yeah, I reached out to the members, so I guess I'm the founder. I like to make myself on equal ground with everybody. I'm just the investigator, but yeah, I guess technically the founder.
Nice. So he's been investigating for quite a while. I think he said 20 plus years. You said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back when I started, we had a compass, baby powder, film camera. It's like things have changed, man.
Yeah. The technology that goes into a lot of the stuff these days has been pretty interesting. So real quick before we get into it, tell everybody listening or watching a little bit about yourself and where they can find your stuff and your books.
Cool. So I'm Tim Arnwine. I'm a retired paramedic. I never had the experience of grandma, standing over my bed or any deceased relative. It was just, I was a street medic for years, and I worked in 2 ERs. So I saw a lot of death over the years. So one day I just said, there's got to be something more than throwing someone in the ground. And that energy can't be destroyed or created, just transferred. I was kind of a science geek when I was a kid. So I started investigating. And once you kind of open yourself up to the possibilities, then I started having like subtle experiences, like my hair would get curled in the morgue when I take a body to the morgue in the ER, or I started hearing voices, things like that. So then I just started really getting into investigating on my own. So, and it's been, like I said, it's been crazy, the way the tools have really evolved. And it's so specialized now. And then I've written a few books. I've written books on like autism, emergency medicine. I wrote one book, Ghost Hunting Getting Started, where I wanted to give a history that goes how to do it, where to find investigations, and then I really delved into the tools. I went so far as like the SP7. If you read the book, it'll tell you where the power on button is. It'll tell you what kind of batteries they use. Some guy out of New York really liked the book, but they said there's no pictures. I'm like, hey, yeah, man, that's why it's $6 and not $36. I go, but if you really read it, you really don't need the pictures. He's like, okay. So because for me, I do a lot of lectures on this too. My biggest thing is you got to be proficient with the tools because it adds credibility to your evidence. Or if you don't get any, because if you don't get any evidence and you've been fumbling around with your tools, the client might go, well, they didn't get nothing, but they kind of look like they didn't know what they were doing. So when I give lectures or we do what we call paranormal boot camps, I really get into tools so when people borrow the tools at the investigation, they know what they're doing. Or a lot of them go, wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't know the lights on the REM pod were for that reason. So it's always a learning experience that we try to put out to everybody. I just finished a sequel to the book, to the Ghost Hunting Getting Started.
Oh, nice.
I'm doing the editing now, but it's kind of like I delved more into the tools, any updates, new tools like the tripwire, things like that. And then I actually went through 3 locations that are in South Florida. Now there's tons of locations on here, but the reason I focus on those is because you can go there yourself, pay whatever tour fee they want. And if you break out a recorder or something, they're not going to tell you to put it away. They're very proud of their hauntings. So it gives people who are visiting a chance, like I put the history of the place, the haunted history, and the activity I got. So if somebody goes, let's say, to the New River Inn and they go into one place, King Camarnie, they know the history upstairs, and it kind of gives them an idea of what I've captured, and it gives them a leeway where maybe questions they can ask during an EVP session. It just lets them experience it a little bit more on their own.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So yeah, but I've been, the Haunted South Florida team is incredible. When I formed that team, the whole team is just amazing. They're really into it, and they want to get to the grassroots of investigating, which is I want to get back to that also.
All right.
And because I think that's important. I really TV. I would rather just go out and investigate, run experiments, and help clients and see how we can help them.
Nice, man. Nice.
Yeah.
So for everybody listening, if you're just joining on today's episode, we've had a couple of the team members of Haunted South Florida on, which is Arnie, Callie, Christina, and Gina. Gina was the first person that I ever had reached out to, and my anxiety was so high for this podcast because normally an introvert. So doing this has kind of like brought me out of my shell quite a bit. I've always been a conversationalist once I'm comfortable with somebody. So talking to a bunch of strangers has been quite the process. But I only can get better, and I think it's helpful in a lot of ways. But yeah, so Gina was fun. I messed up the first time talking to her. So when we talked again, it kind of sounds a little like almost scripted a little bit, but it was all right. She was a sweetheart about it. So
they're great.
They're
all great.
They really are. I originally thought she started the group, and then she was like, well, I was one of the first members. So I was like, oh, okay.
It was funny because I kind of found the members by the events, and they were so into it. And when I started making calls, I go, listen, I'm thinking of forming a group, and they're like, oh my God, that would be great. And we kind of bonded and clicked because they came to a bunch of events. And to me, I don't want to get off track a little, but it's if you want to impress a team and they're doing like a local event, like a historic public investigation, go to their events. To me, if you're going to pay to come to an event a few times, that shows commitment. So if I have to do a private, you need bodies at a private investigation, that shows me the commitment that they will show up for the privates and events, because you need bodies at events. And Gina, all those people you listed they've gone to a lot of events with us. They've always been involved. I usually learn something from them because the kids nowadays, they keep up with some new stuff coming out that I might overlook. I'll go like some glasses, mind blocker glasses. Never heard of them.
Me neither.
Some. They're supposedly for ESTA session where they
they
have the red lights and they really focus everything.
Okay.
So Arnie told me, in fact. So I picked some up and Arnie's been using them. He said, he asked me once, hey, is there someone over there? And I go, no, man, I'm over here. And he said he saw a shadow person in a corner. So it's things like that where I'm always learning from them. If you're out there and you're not learning or not willing to learn, if you think you know too much after 20 years, then, to me, you're just wasting your time.
Right.
It's always changing.
Right.
And the better you get, the better it is for the client.
Yeah. And a better experience for everybody.
Yeah. So
did you say that you do lectures?
Yeah. What we do is, I did it before, actually, all of them, exception of Arnie, would come to some that I called paranormal boot camp. Was at New River Inn, where I give a lecture on how to investigate. Then I really get into tools. All the tools are laying out. So I go through all the tools, and then you actually go investigate with us. It's not a walk-in tour. And for me, if I always loan equipment out. I mean, I've loaned out Ovilus 5s and things like that. I always get it back. I've never lost a piece of equipment. But when I do the lectures, I want people to maybe get an idea, because usually people come to these things, they've seen all the shows and they know what a rim pot is, they know what a millimeter is. But if you give some better explanation of what the lights mean, they, even if we don't get any activity, a lot of times they leave saying that, hey man, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that's why it worked like that, or I didn't know the theory behind that. And then we've had people call, I've had people contact me, say, hey Tim, is this millimeter good? And they want to get stuff on their own now. So I always teach, make everything a teachable experience, learning experience for them. So we have fun. We meet a lot of really nice people doing this.
Yeah. I mean, just doing this podcast, reaching out to people and talking to people, a lot of investigators, everybody's been super kind and really nice. And it's been a wonderful experience just talking to people like you. Everybody's so open and they're just friendly, and a lot of them I've become friends with. So I think that's pretty unique. And then obviously, like with you had them come to your boot camps, and then now you guys look like a family on the Instagram page. So
and we do little funny reels, and we just have a good time with it. And it's because when I've built teams before, and I have a strict rule. If it's a female, I will ask them, are you in a relationship? Because I don't want to cause friction in the house, because if everybody's happy and having a good time, they're going to show up, and then there's going to be good energy in the team. And I think that's what we have. Arnie was trying to find me for months to see when I was doing something. And finally I had an event that he didn't miss. And then everybody loved bringing him on board. I mean, because he's so into it. He wants to learn all the time. And so the team just really gels so well. Nice. There's like Aaron, who I've investigated with for years. Linda. There's just people on the team that I've known for years, plus the new group, but we gel so well together.
Nice.
And there's no egos involved, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Perfect. your reels and stuff, like they're super, like, because Arnie sends me all the ones that he makes himself,
Yeah.
which he does really well with them. But yeah, everything that I see from you guys, it's not like, oh, look what we got. It's, hey,
Oh,
look at us have fun. You know what I mean? And then look at what we also caught at the same time. So it was, I
I was,
enjoy watching your guys' stuff.
it's funny because one night we were at the New River Inn. There's a house there called King Cromartie, and the door only locks with a key. And Christina, Gina, and Callie, I think, were in the Cromartie. And they called me. There's a school behind it, a replica school. And I ran over. They said, can you come here? And I opened the door. No problem. One of them got a little sick, a little nauseous, and they couldn't open the door. But I tell that story because when they went outside, they weren't, and they were, compared to a lot of people, they were still new to the field. They weren't out there panicking like, oh my God, Jesus. Yeah. They were like, wow, man, that's amazing. We were saying, are you okay? Is everything good? Blah, blah, blah. But they just showed years experience from a few months of investigating with that one real episode. And I was proud of them for that. I kind of maybe said, I go, wow, that's pretty cool. I've never seen someone get sick like that in a long time. So it sounded a little jaded for me, but I was so proud of them because they handled it just like if that was a night where we had guests, that would have been perfect because they were just being themselves. Because once you start freaking out, then guests freak out and things like that. So, but it was fun.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And I think when people call or do shows like this, the people who agree to come on and do things like that, they're pretty open because most of the field wants to be honest about it and
Right.
give a good face to it. A lot of people are like, they want the field to look good.
Yeah. And that get that instant gratification and look like the oohs and the ahs. That's what a lot of people are looking for. I feel like, and from what I see from you guys and a few other accounts that I follow, there's a lot of genuine interest in wanting to learn and wanting to actually find something real and concrete, and just to show it to the world and be like, hey, look, there's something going on here. There's something else
Yeah.
out there. It's not always spooky. It's not always scary.
No, and I'm real proud of the ladies. I always call them, I'm in ladies, Gina and everybody, Callie, Christine, they want to run experiments, which is, I'm a big fan of experiments because it only helps the field.
Yep.
Like I'm a big fan of the DR60 recorder. I have a bunch of them and they're expensive. They're like,
Yeah, they are.
so even for years, I didn't even think about it till a little while back. We were always testing like Sony's and Olympus. And I didn't realize, I go, damn, we were doing experiments because we can find a recorder that gets close to a DR, but it costs $100 rather than $3,000. Then that only helps the field because now you got people out there with more reliable recorders trying to get evidence to bring to the field.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm real proud of them for bringing that, for wanting to do that. Experiments are important because it's a scientific field basically. And if you can run experiments and help the field, then then that's good for you. That's good for everybody.
I agree. So one thing that I wanted to ask you was, so I know you mentioned that you started, did you say you started investigating while you were still a paramedic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just, I worked at a big teaching hospital down here, Jackson Memorial, and I worked PDs, ortho, and trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a lot of shootings and stuff. So every now and then I would have to, usually transport would take the bodies if we lost someone in the trauma room down to the basement to the morgue. But every now and then we were so hammered that the paramedics would do it. We were just so busy. And when I kind of opened myself up to it, I started, I was taking a body in and my hair got curled. And I thought someone was goofing because that basement there's nobody down there.
Mm.
So, and then I heard voices. And even when I was a street medic, I never thought about this till years later. It was summertime. It was, felt like 100 degrees outside. We were working a shooting, no kniving. I'm doing CPR on a guy, and CPR runs in cycles. So after your compression cycle, the person's supposed to check for a pulse. Well, there's no pulse. But 20 years later, I was thinking back. I'm like, when I was doing chest compressions, I'm over the guy. I felt a cold swish go up my body. So I'm like,
Oh, shit.
could that be something? I mean, quote unquote, the soul leaving.
Mm.
And then it happened one other time years later. So I was never really into it. But I think once you open yourself up to it, a lot of people say, don't open yourself up, blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
If you open yourself up just to the possibilities, I always use the analogy. It's like if you're sitting at a bar and a girl looks at you, she might be open up to you talking to her. So once you open yourself up, now they're on the other side going, hey, this guy might be willing to listen to me, or, I think they want to be recognized so bad. It's like, this guy might be open to recognizing that I'm actually here. So that's what I was telling. I go, you're not opening yourself up for the demonic stuff you see on TV. You're just opening yourself up to the possibilities.
Right.
Because I went from thinking, why are they here? No, what happens to them?
Mm.
And then after investigating over years, it says, now I'm thinking, what do they want and how can I help? You kind of grow as you go along.
Right. So what was that switch that made you like kind of just be like open up to it before you got the curl in the hair and whatnot? Like what was that opened you up to start possibly getting those experiences?
I was just sitting there, and I've never been really spiritual, religious, blah, blah, blah. And I always thought, you throw someone in the ground, that can't be the end of it because there's energy. So the hair curl, and then I got a couple whispers. And then one shift I brought in a recorder, an old tape recorder. Didn't get anything, but I think that's when I started investigating. I started sneaking stuff in my lab coat to, hey, we need something in the basement. I'll go, man, I'll go, so I would go down there and do some recording. And then from then on, it was just, the old thing, find the cemeteries, things like that.
Yeah.
And initially I joined a team because I wanted to learn how to do it. And I think, a good team could give you two things: credibility and education. A good team can, because you want to get the credibility. Because if you're with Acme ghost hunting and they've been known to make evidence up all over the place, then you don't want to be with them.
Right.
But like Haunted South Florida, we don't make up stuff. And I always tell clients, I've done this for 20 years, there's no guarantee we'll catch evidence because ghosts do not make appointments and they don't wear watches. And I just take that, I take that elephant off the table right when I walk in. That way the client doesn't expect anything. So when we go in to look for stuff, and we do, we do a lot of debunking. We'll say, oh man, someone was talking out there, and we'll knock it off right there. We were doing a prison years ago, or when I was with another team, we were doing a prison, and where Warhost was, that crazy woman they made the movie Monster after.
Yep. Oh, yep. I can't think of her name, but I know who you're talking about.
So, and for some reason, the prison was empty. So the officers allowed us to go in there for 4 hours. They would just make pretend we're not there for 4 hours. For some reason, there was vandalism everywhere. But for some reason, her cell was locked. So I put a little GoPro in there in the slot where they served the dinners. And I put a recorder, and we pulled off. We played recorder. We heard this. And everybody's like, oh my God, a gunshot. That's the coolest thing ever. But then we found out the little, plastic that covers fluorescent lamps,
Mm-hmm.
that plastic. So we've discovered someone stepped on one, and
Oh,
it sounded just like a gunshot. But we
yeah,
could have taken that and run with it, because that would have been the coolest thing ever.
yeah.
A
So
gun,
she
huh?
passed away in that jail, in that prison. She passed away there.
No, actually, they took her from there. It was down here in Pembroke Pines.
Oh, okay.
When they took her to be executed, I think they executed one more person, and then they shut it down. And now it's apartments or something.
Oh, jeez.
But but you always got to debunk stuff. And when you debunk stuff, a lot of people go, why? I go, because it helps the client, because a lot of times we'll get like high EMF spikes. And I've done houses where there's like a 40, constant 40 on the millimeter. And it turns out on this one wall, when they walk by this one area, they feel like they're being touched and things like that. But when I went outside, every house motor was on that wall, the pole motor, the small motor, and it was just leaking in the windows. So I suggested the owner have everything boxed and insulated, and it was a 5 after that, but it's a hell of a lot better than 40. So even if you debunk some, you're still helping. You're saying, lady says, I hear stuff above me all night. I open because in Florida, there's really no attics to walk around in. They're more like crawl spaces.
Yeah.
I lifted up what they call the attic. I lift the door up and I flashlight, and I saw 4 eyes. I go, ma'am, you got raccoons up here. So she says, oh, okay. So, even if you find answers, they might not be the answers that you're hoping for, but they're answers to help the client, and that should be always top priority.
Right. So how often do you guys do how often do you do residential?
We haven't done a lot lately. We did when we first started, we had like 3 or 4 privates right off the bat. I get calls from people, and it just, some of them don't pan out, because once I start talking to them, and I'll say, try this. I don't always just say, yeah, we'll be there 5 o'clock. I always do like a preliminary investigation call, just to see. And a lot of times it's like, oh, yeah, I'll try that, or try this, or try that. And, we've had one lady, she found an animal in her house, so it's the preliminary call is kind of like, let's talk, let's see where your concerns are. And then we always set up a preliminary where we go out like 2 or 3 people for a couple hours, run all the outlets, everything, see if there's an EMF leak anywhere, do some EVP, see if we catch something. So, I mean, if I wanted to, we get calls, I can jump on every one of them, but I'm like, let's see if this works. And it leaves them at comfort. And I call them the next day. And they're like, you know what? Let me wait a couple of days. And, they don't call back. And the door's always open for them to call me. But we're always open to residentials. I've done businesses, residentials for, all these years.
Nice.
But,
So you also have a YouTube where you discuss a lot of your stuff, and you go over like the equipment and stuff. Do you mind possibly sharing the name of your YouTube, and then kind of just like go over one of the instruments you guys use real quick?
Yeah, it's a long hair ghost hunter on YouTube. I was gonna make a podcast, but I decided to do this YouTube series. I've done like 17 of them.
Nice. Where
I started from, history of ghost hunting. I went all the way through the tool. The only tool really left is recording audio. So I still got to do that. And when the new book comes out, I'll talk about the equipment. But like I did a whole segment on spirit boxes. Because spirit boxes, there's different speeds. A lot of people, like especially on events, they'll borrow a spirit box and they'll run it at 350 milliseconds. and then you're hearing every word come in. Like,
Mhm.
I always tease people. I go, if you hear the word auto, it doesn't mean the chauffeur's coming back to see you. It just means there's an auto sale down the street. So I go through the speeds, because the higher the speed, the more radio bleed you get. So most people like to use 200 to 250 to get things going. It's a kind of easy spot. I'll run sometimes 100 because I've been listening to spirit boxing since they started.
Yeah.
But most people run 2 to 250. So I go through all that. And then as a medic, I always gave a first aid tip of the week, like bleeding, how to control bleeding, or allergies. So, because to me, safety is everything on the team. If every event we go to, even if it's a team event, I bring a jump bag full of first aid equipment because I've had to work on a few guests and team members over the years. It's usually someone runs into something and gets cut up or they trip. Luckily, no broken bones yet, but a lot of lacerations.
Yeah. My uncle, he passed a few years ago. He was a lifelong paramedic as well, so he also always had a bag of equipment with him just in case.
Yeah,
And he always had his truck with him with his lights on, no matter where he was, just in case, he happens to be driving by somebody on the side of the road, he can put his lights on and, CB radio, the um, local dispatch that is in the area and all that stuff. So,
yes,
and
I've stopped at a lot of accidents over the years. It's but even we had one lady fall at an event and she cut her eye open,
oh no,
and just because she was a sweet old lady, and even when I got her I bandaged her and I had her sit down with someone, she goes, I do fall a lot. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's cool. But then she goes,
nope, we lost you.
do you carry stitches? And I told her 20 stitches. So she called me next day. I had to go to the ER. I go, yeah, you got 5 stitches, right? She goes, 4. I was close. So I always carry that. Whoop. I always carry a med bag just for that reason. Because I want people to feel comfortable that, at least someone can start to help them.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of, anxiety away.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good way to be, I feel like. Um I take when we go on trips or something, I will have like a med bag or whatever, but I mean, I'm not a paramedic, so I don't have or ever trained in that line of anything, so I wouldn't bring a whole bunch of stuff and actually try and work on somebody, so because 9 times out of 10 I'd probably end up messing somebody up rather than actually helping them. So
That's what I mean. I always, even when I did the lectures, I go call 911, no matter what you do,
yeah,
and just do what you can. And it was always basic stuff like, control bleeding and wrapping a bandage. It was always the basic first aid I had on my YouTube stuff. Because I even say, I go, don't get too far in the weeds when this stuff. If you're unsure, just call rescue. That's what they're there for. Just do what you can.
right.
But the series was good. It was just, I kind of ran out of things. So I'm like, you know what? Let me focus on getting the other book out and maybe I can go back and do some more stuff.
Nice. So I watched one of those videos, and for the life of me, I cannot remember the topic because it was around the time when I had first started talking to you, and you mentioned because I was like, "Do you have a podcast?" Because I saw a little short reel on your Instagram about it, and you were like, "Oh, I have a YouTube series." So I watched one of the videos, and I can't remember which one it was, but I did see that you had quite a few, so I was planning on getting into it, but I just haven't had the time yet. I try to between everybody that I follow and that I talk to, I try and listen to all their stuff sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate it. And I try to keep them like 20 minutes at the most, including the first aid tip.
Yeah.
And then I always try to open up with like a spoof video. Like my son he goes, "What are we gonna do this week, Dad?" I think one time I walked up with 4 boxes of gear. I have like 8 boxes of gear. and then I had 2 REM pods draped over my neck. And the joke was, "This is more than you need for a preliminary." And I was just, I always open up with some little spoof thing, just to make a little fun of the, what's going on, and then
Yeah.
I break into it.
That's fun.
So
That's cool that you get your son. How old is your son right now?
he'll be 21 in April. I mean,
Oh.
April 1st.
Nice.
So Saturday. So yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I mean, we just film it on the phone, and and just send it out like that. We don't do a lot of editing and stuff because it's like a 30-second spoof.
Yeah, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
Know, but we because I used to do stand up years ago. So I told
Did you
Shannon,
really?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
I did it before it was cool. Like we made $50 a night and all the beer you can drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
So somebody said you should start doing it again. I go, yeah, well, we'll see. So I've been working on some material, but I always like to do the spoof just to, have a little fun with it.
That's cool. That's cool that you and your son are still tight with him being an adult.
Yeah, he's like,
by the time I hit 21, I didn't even really want to spend time with my parents. So,
he's like, because when I'm doing EVP, when I'm downloading,
yeah,
I'll call him. I go, Shane, what do you think this said? And he's pretty good with it, but he never cusses. So like I get a lot of F offs. So I'll say, Shane, what do you think this said? He goes, Daddy, I think it said F off. You mean fuck off? He goes, yeah, Daddy, F off. I go, oh, okay, yeah.
That's cute.
So he's pretty cool about it. He's like, I go, hey Shane, check these out for me. And I might, because I use Wavelab, so I'll keep them on the top. And I'll download them all when I think is good. And I'll say, what do you think about this? And I go, nah, well, wow, Dad, that one's pretty good. So he's like my confirmation sometimes for EVPs I get.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah. He didn't go out with us, but he listens to the evidence.
Is he too scared to go out?
No, he's just, I mean, I always tease him. I go, he always says, have fun. Don't bring nothing home. I go, okay, I'm going to put it in your room. No, don't. So don't do that. I go, okay, I won't. I promise.
That's funny. That sounds like something I'd say to my kids.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
I'll put it in your room.
Yeah, I'm going to put it under your bed. No, don't do that. So, but he's cool. He's
That's
like,
funny.
And my wife's the same. My wife doesn't go, but she's very supportive.
Yeah.
And she's like, go have fun. Just don't bring nothing home. Okay.
Yeah.
And she's like, be careful. All right, we'll go.
Nice.
So yeah, it's fun though.
So if you get into stand up, where do you go? Where do you just go to? I guess my question is, since you brought it up, what is it like? Like, do you seeking a venue?
Oh, I just do like when I started years ago, there was one comedy club in all of South Florida. There was no improvs on that. So it was that one club. Now they're all over the place. But I'm writing some stuff. I might just go try some material, some open mic nights and things like that, just to get my timing back. But the reason I stopped years ago, because they were just getting to the point where they were building an improv down here and they were building one in Palm Beach. So it was getting to a point where if you wanted to do anything, you had to travel. And I'm like, well, I don't travel. So I just backed off of it. And I probably still wouldn't travel, but I just want to, go play with the stuff again to see how the material is. Because I have a daughter who's 36 and she's like, hey Dad, can we go people watch? Because I'll sit there and make fun of people all day, So yeah, let's go to the mall. We'll do some people watching. So we have a lot of retirees down here. So one day we're in the mall and this guy was wearing a plaid shirt and striped pants. An old man, like in his 80s. And his wife was next to him. I'm assuming his wife. And I said, see that guy, honey? She goes, yeah. I go, that guy was a bad husband because she let him go out in that outfit. She's getting even. She goes, Dad. I go,
That's funny. I went on a date one time, and we ended up, so we went out to dinner, and then we went and sat on the beach for a little bit, and then we went to a bar on the pier, and we're sitting there, and she's looking around like this, and I was looking at her, and I was like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Just people watching," and then I remember her pointing at some chick, and she goes, "I bet you she." Oh, shit, I can't remember what she said, but whatever the fuck she said, it made me laugh. And I was like, you want to know what's funny? Like, I do that too. So I people watch and I make up like narratives for people. I don't necessarily judge them, but like depending on what they're wearing, like you, or
Yeah.
what they're doing or something, I'll be like, I bet you, like, I'll make up like this little backstory for them or something like that. And
Yeah.
that's what we ended up doing for the rest of the night. It was pretty fun.
I mean, my daughter, we did be hour, 2 hours, and she was, Dad, can we go to the mall? Go, yeah, let's go to the mall. Let's go people watch. It'd be fun, you know. But even like, because our son's autistic, he's very high functioning. But I wrote a book about autism, and a chapter in the book was being in public with a child with autism, especially a dad, because dads are very stereotypic that they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I never really yelled at someone. I would just make a smart ass remark. So I put a whole chapter of all these stories. And it was so common, my wife would come home. She goes, "Who'd you torment today?" I go, let me tell you about this lady. So
That's funny. Have
and
you
I've
seen?
had, huh?
No, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
no, I mean, I've had people, a mother I knew who had a child who was very disabled. And she saw me one night talking to a lady, kind of sarcastically putting her in her place. She goes, "Tim, I wish I could learn things." I go, "Come on, let's walk around the park." So we walked around with her kid for a little while with Brendan. And we had a ball just, putting people in their place about him. She goes, "Oh, that's better than yelling at him." I go, "Yeah, it's funny too."
Have you ever seen that show Atypical? I don't know if it's only on Netflix, but I know I watched it on Netflix.
Mm-mm.
So
Well, no, so what?
all right, so Atypical is about a kid with autism, and he's fairly high. He's pretty high functioning, and he has this thing about penguins in Antarctica, and like that's his main thing. And he draws penguins all day long, and stuff like that. And yeah, in there, the dad is basically shown as, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, because one time he, we were in a hurricane line. Now, hurricane line down here in Publix are like 20, 30 deep. Everybody's getting their stuff. And at this time, he never looked up. He never talked to anybody. And she was a real sweet old lady. And she kept going, "Hi, honey." And he didn't look up at her. And she goes, "Doesn't he talk?" And they always say the same thing. "I'd have that checked." So I go, "No, he doesn't talk." She goes, "I'd have that checked." I go, "Okay." So then she was really in his face, and he started doing his rocking. So I'm like, "Ma'am, can I help you with anything?" She goes, "Doesn't he talk?" I go, "Honey, if he said fuck off right now, I'd be the happiest man on earth." And she like ran out of line. She left her cart there. She went, "Oh," and she left. I'm like, "Oh, okay, well." And I looked at cashier, I go, "We got to move this cart because, and so," but it was just because I think if people get embarrassed, they remember that a lot longer than some crazy dad yelling at them.
Right.
So it was fun, And he had, "Dad, tell me the autism stories." I go, "Yeah, let me tell you about this one lady we had once." He's like, "Okay, yeah, it was good. That's a good one, Dad." So
That's funny. Yeah, people do when they're embarrassed, they remember. It's more of a impression on their memory than anything else. And then
yeah,
if you're yelling, you just look like a lunatic, basically.
yeah. Then they just blame. They go home and go, "Hey, this guy was yelling at me. What an idiot."
Yeah.
But I guarantee she didn't go home and tell her husband, "Oh, I was told this and that." They kind of keep it to themselves because because even one time, even not when we get a new car, I always get her a license that says Shane's mom on the front. And one time I was pulling in to a Home Depot to buy a new bandsaw, and I guess this guy saw me and saw Shane's mom. So he got behind me in line. He goes, "So you're Shane's mom, right?" I go, "Yeah, I'm Shane's mom." You imagine? No, I go, "I'm Shane's mom buying a bandsaw. You bet his dad's a real son of a bitch." And the guy left out of line. He just left his crap down and he took off. And I'm like, "Okay."
What the I mean, people don't want to stick around when you embarrass them, huh?
I'm like, I'm like, yeah, don't judge, man. Don't judge. So,
Yeah, yeah. Um, that's
but
fun.
like even like when we do investigations, I even walk in and happy. Hey, man, we're here. How you doing tonight, guys? You okay? Because I always teach people, walk in with a good attitude and just be nice. You know,
Yeah. There's no harm in being nice. You know what I mean? What's the point in being rude? What does that achieve? It doesn't really achieve anything. In my from my perspective, it don't. It's never when I growing up, I went through like this phase of where I was always angry and I was always rude to people for no reason. And it didn't do anything for me.
no, I mean, even like when we're doing investigations, I always tell just be nice because if you've seen the haunted South Florida, Instagram and all that, we get a lot of
Yep.
evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't provoke. We go in there, we be nice, you make a connection. And we do so many places over and over that I think we have it like um the King Camardi house, the girl says hi every now and then. There's a girl spirit there. She's like, hi, Tim. And then Aaron's real big, they'll say hi to Aaron all the time. We have a character at the Gold Coast Railroad who likes to say the F word a lot on EVPs.
Yeah, I think Arnie mentioned that.
Yeah,
And then he said something about a kid being held on one of the cars.
on the
Where,
medical, there's a
yeah,
kid there.
I guess there's
Uh,
another guy there that's not allowing the kid to pass over or something. I think that's what he said.
yeah, I mean, we were there once, and when I tell people, I go, when your EVP sessions start dying, even if there's no history, ask about a kid
Hmm.
and then ask if they're okay. Because sometimes if someone's keeping them there, they get defensive. And it's just maybe a way to make a connection and get some evidence. Because on the medical car, I said, is there a boy here? And I said, are you okay? And then the EVP came back with a loud growl, a male voice going, he's happy. But he said it with like an attitude, like, we got our own thing going, leave us alone.
Hmm.
So I always advise people ask for a kid, even if there's no history, because they might be held there. Or, even over the years, I have a thing where, they're not our, pets for show, try to move them on. So we always try to say, you need help. Do you know where your parents are? Things like that. If we can get a kid, a confirmed kid, then maybe we start working from that angle. Can we move you on? Is there something we could do to help you and things like that? Because that's the saddest thing, a kid spirit.
Yes, I
We get a
agree.
lot of them too. It's
That's
amazing.
terrible. Yeah. So one of the questions that I wanted to ask was, if you weren't going to go on to anything else right there.
No,
All right. I was curious in what your favorite place has been thus far to investigate. I mean, I know you said that one. I can't. The name of it escapes me, but you basically have the keys to it.
yeah, the New River Inn. For me, over the years, it's been the Gold Coast Railroad because
Okay.
it's an actual railroad museum with cars. So like, there's the first presidential car there, where they actually armored it and put bulletproof windows in it. There's a World War II medical car, a dining car. But on these cars, there's 4 or 5. There's 12 under what's called the shed.
Mhm.
4 or 5 that I found active over the years. But on those cars, there's a couple spots in every car, not every car, but 2 or 3 of them that have separate activity. So there's one called car, the Zephyr, which is like a Class A travel car. You can go up front where it's like a seating area and a dome, so you can watch the train going. It's the front of the train. And we've gotten a lot of stuff in there. And then you can walk back to where there's side rooms. We've had a lot of really cool EVP sessions and portal sessions in these sidecars.
Nice.
And sometimes when we're doing in the back, we'll hear disembodied footsteps up front. So I've always liked the Gold Coast because there's a place in the back where it's like a model train museum.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done some overnights there where we've put down, it's a large place. Like in the front is like 4, it's big enough to have 4 giant displays of model trains with the cities and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so we've set rim pods down in different parts, and this damn thing will have us chasing it all night. Like beep, 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 beep. You run over there, then you hear beep, beep, beep. You're like, son of a bitch. Sit in one place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've always liked the Gold Coast. I've done a lot. I've done like, we did an abandoned prison once we did it for about a year, and that place was cool. But they
Nice.
raised it, and it's condominiums now.
Oh,
But I've always liked the Gold Coast. There's a place down there, Old Davie School. It's the first school in Broward County. I've always enjoyed that place. But Gold Coast just has, to me, it just shows that how this place is. There's 3 acres of track, and the model display is like half a mile out. So under the shed and a half a mile out, and the bathrooms, this is a big place, and there's activity all over the place there. So it just shows me how widespread one location can get for activity.
right. And it's pretty cool. Like just the old train cars by themselves are cool to check out
Yes,
to begin with.
Like the presidential car was, before they had Air Force One, this was the only way they got around.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of history there. And it's funny because they keep the history pure, because I mean, they even have some of the old rugs still down. So like sometimes so I tell people, I go, people go, oh, I got this. I go, yeah, but you got to remember where you're at. This room is just full of must. And I'm assuming a little mold on the carpeting. So that'll play with your head. So, but if you go outside the medical car, I've had a lot of people, if like we have an event there, I'll tell them, when you walk by the medical car, just kind of let yourself go and you'll feel something. And they always come out and go, hey man, I felt a pressure change. I go, yeah. And you're not in the car, so you can rule out the must and the mold and all that crap. You're getting a real feeling when you're doing it. So, but New River is great. The New River Inn is actually the first hotel on the river in Fort Lauderdale. The house is King Cromartie. He actually he turned out to be the builder of Fort Lauderdale. And then there's a school behind it. It's a replica school of the first school in Fort Lauderdale. And I don't know if you ever heard of Stranahan, the Stranahan house.
No, I have not.
It's very famous down here. But his wife was the first teacher in Fort Lauderdale. But even though it's a replica school, it was a 1976 bicentennial project. So it's a pure replica of the first school, but it's very active. We've had with portals, we've heard singing, we've heard 1, 2, 3, and they'll go 4 or 5 and things like that. We get a lot of kid voices in there, even for a replica.
Wow.
So that place is cool. But Gold Coast is just, for me personally, that's always been my top. But I love all the places have their little quirks and their little characters that we got coming out all the time. So
nice. I like I said, I think the old train cars by themselves without even investigating, I think is a cool place. So, and to add then investigating and getting hits on certain areas in there or all over, you said, I think that makes it fun, I feel like. So just
the bathrooms are like, we did an all night once. We had one lady with us, and she goes, Tim, I have to go to the restroom. I go, well, it's over there. Will you stand out front? Yeah. Nobody was there, and she come running out of the bathroom, pulling her pants up. I go, what the hell's wrong with you? She goes, I just heard someone go, hey. Oh, shit, you found a sister ghost. That's pretty cool, honey. She's like, oh my God.
Oh my God, that's funny. That must have been.
I'm like, because luckily she got him up enough where I didn't see anything, but she's pulling him up and running out. I go, what the hell's wrong with you? And then one of my I guess years ago on their camera phone caught a beautiful, I have to send it to you. It's a beautiful shadow. I mean, perfect.
Yeah.
And I showed it to one of the employees. He goes, yeah, that's that son of a bitch who walks by the bathroom all the time. I go, oh, okay, that's cool. So
Yeah.
We get a lot of shadows there, EVPs. Actually, in back of the medical car, there's a kitchen area with the old steel X floor that
Yep.
had the raised X.
Yep.
Years ago, I was there before we had the the newfangled cat balls that light up. A couple girls were there who were they were investigators. They just came to the event, and they said, Tim, they put it down, they chalked it around it, and they left. And they left the area, and no one went in there, and the balls jumped 2 X's. So we get a lot of, and the boy, the Boo Buddy is real good in that area with the boy. We use the Boo Buddy a lot in that area. So it's an active place, and it's kind of fun active. Other than Frank, who says the F word all the time, which is kind of funny because
Yeah.
because I had a sensitive ear one time, real demure, real sweetheart, but real quiet. And she goes, Frank, do you want to say something? He goes, fuck off. she went, I go, Frank, be nice, man. So he's like, no one's ever gotten hurt. But it's a fun because everybody, you can go and you can practically, like when I wrote the second book, I actually write the areas that are active.
Yeah.
And people can go like to the dining car and ask for an order. And sometimes, like one time I said, hey man, you got balsamic ice cream? And we got to clear. No. Okay. No balsamic ice cream. So I always tell people, I figure the dining car, ask for something really off the wall. Let's see if you get a response. Because, waiters back in those days, like the 40s, they're very professional. And it's like, no. I go, okay, man. I go, hey. Then next time I went, hey, you got steak? He was like, yes, sir. Okay. So I always I want people to, because it's always a hidden miss when you're starting fresh.
Mm-hmm.
So at least if you can walk in and say, hey, Tim said there's a waiter here, so ask for something ordering wise, or in the medical car, ask about a boy. So I always try to tip people. And when I would tell people, like, if you go to any historic place, first thing you should do is look at all the pictures and see if you get names off those pictures, because every historic place is proud of their family tree of whatever was there. Mm-hmm. So it gives you a nice starting point. Like you say, hey, is Jack here? Jack may have never been here, but Mr. Deering probably was there because it's Deering Estate. Mm-hmm. So ask for Mr. Deering or ask for Miss Deering. So I always teach people, if you don't have time to look up the history and get familiar with it, always refer to pictures and displays. It'll give you an idea where to start when you're doing EVP sessions.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. So there's one question that I've been really wanting to ask you out of everybody, just because you've been investigating for so long, and doesn't have anything to do with investigating, but I was curious if you've ever encountered a skunk ape.
Actually, when I was a kid, I grew up we had a ranch.
Uh-huh.
And we were like on the skirts of the glades. Where we lived, it was so bad that when the Everglades caught on fire, we always had to turn the horses loose in the neighborhood because we were afraid it would jump and get the ranch. That's how far out we were.
Right.
Now there's houses everywhere. But when I was a kid, we heard like a scream, like a deep scream. And then I didn't realize this till years later. I never knew this. We had this funky smell. And then I never realized, but skunks do not like water. That's why you don't find the skunks in the Everglades.
Really? I didn't know that either. So
I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. I never even knew that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like a foul smell. But it was weird. But then again, we had horses, cows, everything, and no one ever got hurt. Even the bobcats, we had a lot of bobcats. Uh-huh. Bobcats never came and hurt any of the animals. So who knows? It was just weird. You learned something, 40 years later, you're like, shit, that's pretty cool. I didn't know skunks didn't like water. Yeah. It smelled like a skunk. So I know as a kid, I just did a show, Shock Docs with the Flight 401.
Oh yes. That story is interesting.
Yeah, 'cause, because the producer called and she said, we connected, and she goes, you're a local, right? I go, yeah, I've been here my whole life. She goes, do you remember this crash? I go, yeah, because back in those days, they didn't clean up everything. They left, like, they just took what they had to take. Now, the theory of the flight is that all the parts they took and redistributed, all those planes are haunted. It was an Eastern jet that went down in the Glades. I think I didn't even knew the story till I watched the show. It's like, I think the pilot knocked the auto off accidentally, and it nosedived into the Glades. So when
the story I heard was that they were having a hard time with the landing gear.
Oh, okay.
That's the story I heard. But
when it was dry out there, we would take, buggies out there and stuff like that. So we were out there one time, and we heard a lady scream, and then there were 5 of us. So we got them looked for this lady, and out there, the palmetto bushes are pretty low. So you can see anybody walking. So we didn't see anybody walking. We didn't see anybody laying around. We looked around. So the lady goes, that'd be a good story. I go, yeah. So I did the show, and I asked her, I go, please don't embellish this. And so she goes, no, it's a good, we're going to recreate it. I go, okay, that's cool. The recreation was a little off, but that's the way they want to do it.
So that's out already?
Yeah, it was Flight 401. I think it came out in November. Steve Shippey was incredible, the investigator. He was a great guy. I was funny because the night before I did the shoot, I was at Gold Coast, and I put a DR down in back where those, the X-stamp floors are. And I always tell people, if your EVPs are dying or you're not getting much, put it down alone and leave the room. Sometimes they'll communicate because you're not there. So I put it down for like a minute. I went back, and the first EV, I said something like, hey, say whatever you want. Get it off your chest. I'm going to leave this down. And I left, and I came back. First EVP was, thank God. Like, cool. Okay. So, I won't bother you anymore. I'm leaving. So I took the recorder the next day to show Steve, because he's an investigator. I thought it'd be cool. And he goes, wow, man, that's amazing. So he was really a nice guy. The whole staff was incredible.
Nice.
It was a nice experience. But yeah, I mean, you look back over the years, and I'm thinking, the skunk smell, the lady screaming, the cold stuff up my chest. I was never into paranormal back then. So, but now looking at it, I go, damn, that was a lot of stuff I could have caught. Son of a bitch. So.
Yeah. So I heard not too long ago stories about the skunk ape and stuff. So it's basically like a Bigfoot creature, and it's in the Everglades of South Florida. And so I know that you've been there for a long time. I didn't realize that you've been there your entire life, but I assume that it's been a while. And I was like, well, if I get Tim on, I'm definitely gonna ask him about the skunk ape. And
there's a guy down here who does tours down here.
Yeah.
Down in South Florida. Now there's one up in Ocala I've heard some strange things about.
Wish-washy stuff.
Yeah. Like they one guy, I don't know how true this is, it's just a story.
Okay.
But someone said his friend took the tour, and then he caught someone in the tree with a stick far away. And then their tour's going, oh, did you hear that? So it was all, but there's a guy down here, David Shealy. He's been doing skunk apes his whole life. And, he's caught some, it's a SHEALY. He's caught some pretty cool pictures over the years out there. He's just devoted his life to doing it. So I think he does tours too.
Nice.
I know there's a group near Lake Okeechobee. They do tours also for that. I've never gone on a tour. It's just, because when I was a kid in the Everglades, if you can get wood out to an area, you could build a camp. They didn't care. So we had like a 10-bed camp out there. They got sick of lift and chop. Like if a fire started, they'd have to make sure all the camps were empty. So they eventually told everybody to tear down their camps. You can't come back out there.
Yeah.
So a lot of my weekends I'd spend out there. All the guys would go hunting. I'm not a hunter. I would just sit there and drink. You know, I would
Sounds like something
volunteer.
I'd do.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go with you guys, but I'm gonna sit right here
Yeah. I'm
and
like,
drink this.
yeah, I'm like, hey, you know, I'll watch the cooler. I'll make sure nothing gets the cooler. You guys go hunt, go have fun. Yeah.
That's
But
funny.
but you know, we heard, and back then, you know, you hear a lot of noises. But
Yeah.
even a guy told me once, we have panthers down there, Florida panthers,
Yep.
and they're saying their growl is very high pitched.
Okay.
So I've heard a lot of high pitches. But I've heard that one deep growl at one time at the ranch. And then I smelled this, you know, the skunk smell. Then I
Right.
found out later, no skunks. I'm like, wow, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's a lot of groups out there that do skunk ape stuff.
Okay. I heard that there was a lot of like stories of skunk apes in the local news down there in the 80s.
Yeah, they're like, well, that's when Sheely was starting his stuff up.
Yeah.
He's been on his stuff has been on a couple shows, because he caught one picture where this thing had to be 7 feet tall, black, and he's tramps, you know, the water's real low, you really don't see water, but there's water there.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a human, why the hell would a human go out in the middle of the glades in 100-degree weather hoping someone's out there to film them in a costume? I'm like, no. It's like,
Yeah.
and then but he's really caught some really amazing pictures over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we had, you know, people say, oh, because that's when they started building out west. So people were saying, you know, there's skunk apes, you know, in their yard and things like that, just when they started building out west. Because like I said, where I live, we were on the skirts of the glades. My dad used to have to go out every day and make sure there was nothing waiting for us in the backyard, like a moccasin or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, he'd open the door, go, okay, it's safe. Okay, go play. So yeah, when they started building west, you know, there were stories all the time about that.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, there's a few stories that I heard of the skunk ape, and they sound a little violent, so I don't know if I would ever want to actually encounter one. So because I know, so when me and my kids go down to Florida, we're definitely going out. We're gonna rent a fan boat to go out in the Everglades, so I don't want to come across one of those things.
Now you go to I think it's still there, Monroe Station. Monroe Station was like where everybody went to get, like, if we were camping.
Yeah.
You know, we'd stop in Monroe, get all our supplies, and you can actually, when it's dry, drive out to the camp. The camp was like 2 miles in, 3 miles in, or a lot of people and had buggies. And they do, if it's still there, I haven't been there forever. They have airboat rentals where you can go out, you know, go out and do it. A lot of gators though.
Yes.
A lot of gators are fun. They're fun to see.
That's what I'm hoping to, because so I saw that there's hiking trails out there too, and I was telling my son about it. He's like, aren't there alligators out there? And I'm like, sure are. And he's like, I don't want to go hiking out there. What are you, crazy? And I go, well, we don't get close to it when you see it, you weirdo. Like,
yeah. Well, they have walkways that they've built out of wood on a lot of those trails.
Yeah.
Where you can actually just, it's, you know, it's kind of like sign guided.
Yeah.
Where you're actually, you know, not in the weeds with them. But yeah, I know a lot of people, they'll go out there to look at the gators. I have friends who are photographers. They spend their day out there taking pictures of the birds and gators and stuff like that.
Cool. Do you ever see like really big pythons out there?
No, but one night we did we invested in something called the Aerojet, which is back during the Cold War. This is a place in the Glades. Yeah. It's like 3 miles off the road where they actually tested rocket fuels and things like that. So we went out one night and the python hunters were coming. And they always went to this one place first to look for pythons at the Aerojet. And they said, you won't see none tonight because it's in the 40s. I go, okay, well, that's good. So it's like, I've never seen one out there. But there's a lot of pictures of here of like gators and pythons going at it. Where
Wow.
python's eating the gator, or gator's got one in his grips, and the python's wrapping around him.
Wow. And pythons aren't like indigenous to the area, right? I think is it?
No, it's just people just turn them loose like
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah.
They get like down here we have this lizard. He's about this big,
Mhm.
and he has a curly tail. And 20 years ago when I did Coral Castle, that's where I saw one. Never saw one up in Broward where I live, and now they're all over Broward. So it's just animals get here and they just reproduce and they move around. Like iguanas. When it gets cold down here, they have actual iguana alerts, because the iguanas will fall out of the tree when it gets cold. They're not dead; they're just waiting for it to warm up. So
Wow.
they actually have that on the news. Iguana
Jeez.
alert. So it's like,
That's funny. That's funny. Um, so you have a book that you're currently working on to come out. When do you think the that will be published and out for the public?
probably I might just. I mean, I'm pretty much for the editing thing. I'm gonna just maybe a week or two. I have the cover picked out. It's just me ghost hunting getting started too,
Mhm.
and then that should be out. I'm just finish up the editing and get it done, just to get it off my plate.
Right.
Because I always self-publish my stuff.
Oh, self-publishing. That's fun.
Yeah, because you can do it through Amazon,
Yep.
and it's free if you do the online, and then you only pay for the book if you wanted print it.
Mhm.
So I've always done that because I never want to be tied to a contract, because when my son was little, I retired when he was coming. So I've always been, I didn't want to be like, oh, you got to be in Tampa Wednesday night. Well, I can't. He has to go to school. So I've always self-published my books.
Right. That's a good way to be, I think.
This one, I'm going to do the same thing. I self-published a paranormal murder mystery, and a guy out of New York liked it, but he said, Tim, it's very visual. You should make it a script. I go, all right. So I know a guy who's he actually works at Harvard Film School now. So I called him and say, hey man, how do I do a screenplay? And he goes, use this software. So actually the screenplay was in 2020, I think. It finished in the top 10 at a indie film festival.
Oh, no way.
Which
That's
shocked
cool.
me.
Yeah.
Because it was weird, because the guy I go, are you sure? Because in the book there's one bloody scene.
Uh-huh.
And I go, this is a slash film festival. He goes, yeah, but everybody liked it. Good story. I go, oh, well, okay. It never got picked up.
Right.
But it was kind of cool that it finished in the top 10. And then the guy called, and actually I've known the guy for years. Him and his partner they were going all over the country filming paranormal teams for a documentary. So he came down here and we were part of that documentary at a place called Villa Paula. So I've known him for a long time. So he called, he says, hey, you're going to finish in the top 10. I go, wow, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making a game. He made a board game called Halloween Never Ends. I go, oh, well, that's cool. He goes, I want you to be the paranormal investigator in it. I go, it's like a game card.
Yeah.
I go, okay, that's fine. Thank you. So I sent him pictures of me. And then when he sent me the artist rendering, I go, hey, Matt, how come I have no hair? He goes, we're all aging in the game. I go, oh, okay. You could have just given me wrinkles and kept the hair. So, but it was kind of cool. I go,
that is cool.
So I told my son, I go, hey, I'm in a game now. He's like, oh, that's good. I'm like, oh, okay. That's the most excited he gets. He's like,
yeah.
But it's like, so I'm trying to work on the sequel to that book. I was going to make like a series of that paranormal book. So
the paranormal fictional one that you put out there as a script.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's wicked cool. So my dream since I was a kid was to be a fictional writer. I looked up to Stephen King. I mean, being from Maine mainly.
Yeah.
But also he's super successful.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to be a writer, and my second grade teacher actually is the one that ignited that.
That's cool.
Yeah, and actually the episode that I just put out today was with a gentleman who's also from Maine and has several books out. And we were talking about, and I told him the same story. But I've been working on I've been working on a novel for like 4 or 5 years now, and I keep rewriting the first chapter because
Oh,
I'm never satisfied with it and stuff like that. And then I never have I feel like I don't have the time to write it, but I do. But so cool thing though that I just started, which I'm excited about. So I'll use this opportunity to kind of put that out into the universe. Because hopefully by the time that I air this, it'll be a little bit closer to being done, but it probably won't be done. But I'm actually working with a graphic designer on a comic book right now.
oh, that's neat.
So the character is gonna be based on myself,
Hmm.
and my dog, and we're gonna
Oh,
be monster hunters.
cool.
So
That's neat.
yeah, she was the last episode. She's a medium. Um, and she I haven't aired this episode out yet, but her name's Emily. She goes by the Fine Art Medium on
Hmm.
Instagram, and her and her friend Chastity have a podcast as well called Lights at Midnight. And so I was talking to them about a lot of stuff, and right at we get done recording, and I'm talking to them about stuff, and I was telling them about this guy that was supposed to be making the logo because they were telling me about how they liked the logo for my podcast. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I made it myself. I paid some guy $100, and it kind of the logo didn't. It kind of looked like a child could have done it. And then I asked him if he could go let down a different avenue or whatever. And then she's like, I'm a graphic designer.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
was like, no shit.
Hmm.
So she's currently working on like um she's working on an image for me right now. I don't know. I gave her this whole like this big image to do, and I'm thinking I'm gonna put it on a t-shirt. And I probably just I'm probably not gonna try and sell it right now, but I'll probably, I've been giving out t-shirts of my logo to a lot of people. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and then and then I told them that like while we were talking about the graphic design stuff, I was like, I've always wanted to write a comic book. And she's like, I love doing comic books. I can do that too. And I was like, no shit. So it's been every day we've been talking about this comic book. So yeah, I'm gonna the
That's
character's based on me. He's gonna have my first name, but a different last name. But the dog is still gonna be my dog's name.
that's
So
cool. Yeah, because I made a it's copyrighted, I guess. I made a spoof paranormal pilot,
yeah.
and it was a southern team, but it was too southern. It was overdone in the stereotypes.
Oh.
Like like the founders were married cousins, and it's like. But I had one kid. I did the pilot, then I did episode one, and then I introduced a dog called BS. But BS is for butt scratch because when he sensed some paranormal, he scratches butt on the rug. And a couple of networks they liked it, but Tim, this is very, very stereotypic. I go, I know, I know, I know. But if I dial it back, it won't be funny. They're like, oh, well, I go, okay. So, but I love butt scratch. I was like, I go, this is cool. This dog, he just drags his ass on the ground when he senses, oh, shit. Most dogs stare at something.
Yeah.
He just scratches his butt in a circle. I'm like, this is okay. This will be fun. But, because I was thinking of my whole family's from Tennessee. So I'm thinking, oh, yeah, we'll make this stereotypic up the yin yang. And it was way too much. I'm like, well, okay.
That's funny.
So, yeah, the comic book, that's cool. That's neat.
Yeah, and I figured it would go pretty well with the show too, because
Yeah.
that's basically about like um my character will find people who've had encounters and stuff, and then go investigate and track things down and stuff like that. But I think one of like the main part of the story is he's going to be like treasure hunting at the same time.
Oh, cool.
Maybe I don't know. I haven't quite decided on the avenue that because there's got to be a main story to it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize when you're writing a book, I'm old school. I'll write on yellow pads, but I always had to keep a little yellow pad because I always had to go back to the characters and go, oh yeah, this is how this guy is. Because as you're building it, you're like, damn, I got to go back and see. And it takes a while because you got to refer back to the character and see where they were on page 14. And it's always flipping back and forth. So yeah, a lot of people go, oh, you just knock that out. I go, no, you just can't knock it out. It's like, especially because my book, I had like, there was 2 ghosts and 2 kids. And then the actual killer. So there's like 5 characters interacting all the time. So even that guy goes, there's too many quotation marks. I go, listen, man, I'm not an English major, but if someone's talking, there's gotta be a quotation mark, right? He goes, yeah. I go, well, he goes, no, I'm just telling you it's too visual. You got to make it a script. I go, oh, okay. So
yeah.
But and the other one, I was going to make, and my books aren't big. Any of them. They're like under 100 pages, all of them.
Oh, wow.
So it's like a novelette. So, I got to work on that. It's in my head. I just got to put it down on paper.
Yes.
But I don't walk around a computer. I've always just done legal pads. I'll write it. And I mean, sometimes when my first book on emergency medicine, I had to be very picky about the pencil for some reason. I don't know why. I'd buy this pencil. No, I don't like this pencil. Because I can go back and erase and go, okay, and somebody go, why don't you just use a computer? I go, I don't know. Because usually I used to write my books waiting for my son in school. I just sit in the car, blast my old rock and roll and write, and everybody like, hey, Tim, we knew you're in the car. We heard the music. I go, oh, okay. So it's like,
that's funny.
Writing's tough.
Yeah, I used to write on a pad too back in high school and stuff. Nowadays I can write like I'll be in the middle of a sentence and my hand starts cramping for some reason. I don't know if it's from the fuck was it called? The tendonitis that I had in my elbow, and it's just when I put that pressure on my hand, and it just kind of like I don't like that, but so I have to go to I have to be on a computer or else I won't be able to get through it.
All right, because I mean I have like over here I have like 60 pages of pad paper just rolled over because like it's on the book's on a computer now, but I typed it in. But I'm thinking, oh shit, if I lose the computer, at least it's all written out still. So but I'm kind of strange. Like everybody's like an event, can you do the investigation Friday? I go, I don't know. I got to get a home look at my calendar. It's not on your phone. Events. So the ladies are like, they'll put something like, put something out and go, okay, how do I do this? Like, Tim, I go, sorry, so sometimes I'm kind of illiterate with the computers and all the social networks and all that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, writing, a lot of people don't realize how tough it is because you have to go back and always remind yourself.
Yeah, that's the part that I have a hard time with. I was like, where the fuck did I leave this guy off at? Like, what was he doing the last time I talked about him? So,
yes.
And sometimes it's like 40 pages ago.
Yeah, because you got to flip back. I always kept a little pad, and then I would jot notes like Buford, the head ghost, the lead ghost. Like, okay, Buford did this and this and this. Okay, okay, but before that, I'm like flipping back. It's insane. But and then it's called relaxing. So you're like, where the hell was he? Son of a bitch. You're relaxing. Yeah. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Yeah. Writing's tough. But comic book, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I am currently trying to figure out how to write a comic book script so that she can understand it and illustrate it for me. But I think so the things that I've been reading and the videos I've been watching on it has said that the writer should, um even if you can't draw very well, just do like a rough sketch
Oh,
of what
okay.
you want for each window so that the illustrator understands what your vision is.
That's
So
cool.
I
I've
don't know.
always envied artists because an artist can sit in a room in a corner
Oh
and be
my
good.
God, yeah. She sent me the start of the design that I had asked her originally to make, and it looks she's not done yet. She just started and it looks amazing.
Yeah.
And
It's
I'm just my jaw dropped. I was like, "Whoa, this is so cool."
like Gina on the team is an artist, and some of the stuff she draws at during lunch
Yeah.
is mind blowing. You're like, my God, you did that in an hour? It's like
Yeah.
art, because both my brothers were artists, and they, I played baseball,
Yeah.
so I had to have a friend to throw a ball with, but they can just sit in the corner with a pad or whatever they were doing and be content.
Mhm.
I go, man, that sucks, but I can barely draw a straight line, so I'm not an artist. But
I can draw a face. So I have sketchbooks with like they're like portrait pictures that I've drew over the years. But
oh,
that's about it. Like I can do like I can get the eyes, I can get the mouth. Sometimes I struggle with the nose a little bit to the mouth ratio in the eyes and the cheeks.
mhm.
But other than that, like it's not phenomenal, but that's the best that I'm ever gonna be is with the faces. And I've tried a lot over the years, and just the face is the only thing that I can get down, like a body and hands and like scenery I cannot do.
Oh no, because one time me and a friend of mine were trying to build a movie studio down here.
Oh no way, that's neat, man. That's cool.
Because me and this guy, we were paramedics together for years, and we've built businesses over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and we were investigating too. So Bill says, let's build a movie studio, and I go, well, all you really need to do is have someone who knows what the hell they're doing,
Yep.
find the finance, and we did a press conference for the governor. It went pretty far, but then the town I lived in where we're going to build it, I was sitting there with the investors in the room at the commission meeting, and he says something really off the wall, and the investor goes, "Hey man, that sounds like a kickback." I go, "Me too," and I don't know what the hell he's talking about. So, but then we found so much corruption and everything.
Yeah.
And after a while, we were at this for like 2 years, and then for my partner Bill, he lost his job. But every time they Googled his name in an interview, they'd pull around the screen and say, "Are you building this? What's going to happen?" So he couldn't get a job. So I told Bill, I go, we took this thing pretty damn far.
Yep.
But unless they bring a check and a bulldozer, to hell with it. So, but the reason the story is that we were going to go do this press conference. So I drew the rendition of the thing instead of an architect doing it. And you can tell, man, like the architect was supposed to have it done by the time we were driving up Tallahassee, and he didn't have it done. So I said, well, let me just knock something out. And you can tell the difference. I mean, the lines are straight. They look like buildings, but it was just nothing like what a real artist could have done. I'm like, oh man, this sucks. But
Yeah.
anyway, we took it up there. They didn't even put it on camera, and I was grateful for that. We were doing the conference, and I go, hey, can we put that drawing like away? Because I was about to suggest that to him. I go, yeah, I would. I don't want that damn thing on camera. I go, I might just leave it in the trash when we leave here. And he's like, but yeah, artists are amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
They really, my late brother would, back in the 70s, he would drop a lewd or two. He'd just get stoned off his ass, and he'd take jealousy panes, the little strip of glass that used to go in doors.
Yep.
And he started breaking them. I go, what the hell are you doing? He goes, art. I'm like, art. So, and then he'd pick pieces out. Then he'd start shaving them, and he'd start painting them. But by the time he was done, he was a very bright person. He would paint these. By the time he was done, he had this in his head already. He'd make his own stained glass of like a long tail bird.
Wow.
And I go, Steve, should you be messing with soldering? You know, as stoned as you are? He's like, I'm okay, man. I go, okay, man. Just, but he'd solder it. But then he'd just sell them at like a flea market. But he was a true artist. But just in his own little world, he can just go there by himself and make a piece of art.
Nice.
If I wanted to do what I do, I'd have to find, hey, let's play catch, or things like that. So
Yeah.
artists always fascinate me.
Yeah,
they're very
same.
bright people.
They really are. They really are. I was sporty too, so I was out there throwing balls around and trying to be physical with people. And
Yeah,
I had a few friends that would do the same thing, just kind of like find a rock to sit on and they'd have their pad and draw or write or whatever. Like my artisticness goes as far as the writing. Like I can
Yeah.
like I can visualize stuff in my head, but I cannot put it on. I can't draw it onto paper. So
Yeah, because people, because they go, yeah, you're like a storyteller. I go, yeah, I guess. I just write stuff down, and like all my books, like the emergency medicine and the autism book, are actually real rescue stories, autistic stories.
yeah.
And I bolded the symptoms in the story. So even those books are stories. They're just a series of stories.
Right.
So I've always done that, where I can just tell a story, and then, or someone will go, yeah, you just stand up, tell me a joke. I go, you can't tell a joke. You have to, it's built. You have to build up to something.
Yeah.
I say, oh, this and then they'll go, that wasn't funny. I go, yeah, but you got to hear this and this and this. And you're like, holy crap, that's good. So it's like everything's always built on a story from what I do. But drawing something, no, not me, man.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm horrible at it.
So, question I like to ask a lot of the investigators, are you finding fulfillment in the path that you're walking currently, like with all your investigating, your book writing, and
yeah. I mean, now that, like I said before, I'm more in the grassroots. I want to help people. I want to find answers. I don't really give a damn about being on TV. Like I said, I used to play minor league ball, so I've had my fame time. So I don't really need that. And with this group, with the Haunted South Florida group, everybody's gelled with the same mind thought. Let's help people. Even if it's if you're doing an event, you're still helping that event make money, the location make money, and then people are leaving knowing how to do it. I always say, run an honest investigation, present honest evidence. I'd rather, like, I was offered, someone wants me to do a lecture for kids coming up in the fall. And I said, yeah, because I mean, we run into a lot of kids at our events, like the first free Saturday thing. And they'll come in, they'll see all the toys, and half the kids know what everything is. Hey man, there's a millimeter, or blah, 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 blah. So for me, I'd get back to grassroots, where I can teach a kid how to do it right. Not that everything is demonic on TV, like Zach says, and don't be afraid of it. Just go out there and you're just taking scientific equipment. You're trying to see if something meshes. So yeah, for me, the path is good now, because it's back to the grassroots of just helping people, running the experiments, trying to help the field. And this the Haunted South Florida, the new team, is like amazing. They're just the way they do things. It's I've never done an Estes session, because I enjoy watching them do it, and I've never told them that. They're always, "Why should you do an Estes?" I go, yeah, maybe. But I'd rather just sit back and watch them, because it's just amazing how they do things. It's amazing. I always tell people, like in my book, part of the team leader role is, I always say, be involved with the investigation because it's so much fun. It's the big payoff to watch your team grow as they get better with equipment, and that's the big payoff. So yeah, the path now is great, and the writing is just something I just, I have to be doing something creative with the writing all the time. Like this book's almost done, so I said, well, let me write the sequel to the other book. I'm like, well, what the hell? I guess I got to have something to do. Like I'm building, my website's going to be longhairedghosthunter.org because I'm going to build a website. I'm not real good at it, but it's some creative I want to do. Because the other one, the guy's like trying to charge me every time I pick up the phone. Hey, we need more money. I'm like, you know what? This website's for fun. It's a hobby. I'm not making money, so I'm not going to pay you thousands of dollars. The website for Haunted South Florida, now that's amazing. The ladies have done a bang up job. I'm lousy at websites, but I just want to be creative. So I said, yeah, let me just make a new website. It'll go live eventually. I don't really care. So, but for me, it's just being creative all the time. And now just with the ghost hunting, we always try to do a team thing once a month where it's just us having a good time playing. Like we went back to New River and did a night just for the hell of it. I didn't get to go, but they went to Clewiston Inn, which is a very famous hotel. It's a couple hours away. So they all went up, got rooms, they investigated all weekend. So as a team, we're always trying to do something every month, just to gel and have fun with it. So yeah, the path is great. There's no pressure. There's really, there's no pressure like, oh, I hope this guy likes this because I want to get picked up. Well, you know what? I really don't care about getting picked up. Because even when the shock docs, that wasn't per se Tim, the paranormal investigator. That was Tim, the local resident, who happens to be a ghost hunter. So that was, some people, I go, no, that was just, they wanted to hear my story. That's all it was. And I did it. I had fun with it. Made a friend with Steve and the group. So I was happy. Yeah. And the people we're being nowadays, it's cool to meet these people. And, as long as you go into an investigation with empathy and no judgment, by the end of the time, the person's going to appreciate your time, even if you don't get nothing. And then, I have people, like I said, who contact me, hey, I'm going to try the smell meter. What do you think of the smell meter? So they're getting into it, but, we keep in touch with things like that. So I'm real happy with just the teaching part and then just being with a team that's really into it for I call the right reasons. That may sound a little snide, but, for the right reasons to help people. And the team's incredible. I'm just grateful they all wanted to come on board.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome. You have a phenomenal team, I think. Obviously I've talked to a few of them. They're all really nice people, and the stuff that you guys compiled together on Instagram and in your reels and stuff, it's so fun to watch and be a part of and watch you guys all grow together.
Yeah, it's fun because like Heidi and Kim, they're a mother-daughter.
Yeah.
They're part of the team, and they're a ball to investigate with. You'll see Heidi with doing the dowsings, and Kim, and like that little ghost thing we do with the person sometimes that's Kim, and everybody just has a ball. The whole team is just gels, and everybody just wants to have a good time with it. And that's what it should be. Cause when people are coming on, I tell people, when you're forming a team, you got to realize these people have lives, they have jobs, they have families. So make it fun. Don't make it another job, because then you get the negative feelings in an investigation. When we get together, it's like we have a good time with it, and that's the way it should be. And it goes out to the guests when we do guest events. The guests have a fun time. We get guests who follow us now. They come to other events. Where you guys being? We're going to be down here. Okay, we're going to follow you down there. So when you're having a good time and the team gels, then it always spills over to the guest. And that makes the field look good, that makes the location look good, and they're having a good time with it. So
Perfect.
yeah, it's cool. We're having it's fun.
Perfect. Now I know you've bestowed quite a bit of wisdom in a lot of the things that you've been saying, but I was just curious if there was any phrase that you want to throw out there just to bestow a little bit of wisdom upon somebody who is just getting into investigating, what that would be.
Yeah, for me, it's I I I always say, run an honest investigation. And I always tell people, don't embellish stuff, don't make up stuff, because word gets out.
Mhm.
Clients will not want to deal with you if you're going to make up crap. A good team won't want to deal with you. So you run an honest investigation, present honest evidence. And again, you don't have to be a techie expert in the tools, but at least know how to turn one on. Look proficient with your evidence, with your equipment. Because in the long, even if you're new, the equipment's going to do the talking. But if you look like you're not working it right, they're going to go, they don't know, so just, it's just for me, it's credibility is everything. I tell everybody that. It's just credibility is your main, and then privacy. Don't always ask, even if you're going to put out an EVP. EVPs are usually very nondescript, unless you say, we're at the Johnson's house in Hollywood. We caught this cool EVP. But I always ask the client, I say, listen, we caught a really cool EVP. We're going to put it out. We're going to say, Broward resident. Is that okay with you? And that, that gets, I've had people who have been referred to me and say, Tim, we called you because we know you're very private about all this. I don't have to worry. I go, yeah. I wouldn't want my name slapped all over the internet as being haunted. Then you got people driving by and all that crap. So for me, credibility and privacy is everything. And just, have fun with it, and just, the going joke with me all the time is when I start introducing the equipment. Now I have like 2 6-foot tables just full of equipment laying out when I do these lectures. And that's about half of what I own. So I always tell people, I go, now when you're starting, my number one rule is do not mortgage the house. This is 20 years of collecting. And everybody goes, okay, Tim. Okay. So that's always my, privacy, credibility, and start where you're at. Don't try to overreach it, because, if you get yourself in trouble financially, then it's a hardship at the house or hardship on you. So just start where you are. Get involved with a team. Like on our team, I always suggest don't buy nothing unless you try it, because I usually have whatever's there. If you like it and you want to get it, that's fine. But a lot of investigators, the old time investigators, have done the trial and error bit down there. So use their experience. Yeah. So credibility, privacy is the biggest thing anybody new can do. And don't, you're not going to get something all the time. Accept it. That's just the way it is.
Right.
When I met the ghost hunters the first time, Zach, Grant, and Jason, I told him, I go, your show's doing real well. The show was just starting it. I met him at Dragon Con in Atlanta. I said, you know why your show works? Because you don't catch stuff every week. And that's reality.
That is reality. You're right.
And then when you call a person, just say, hey, we may not catch anything. But don't leave them hanging. I always say, if we don't catch nothing, do me a favor, keep a log for like a week. Maybe we're just coming at the wrong time, and then always adjust your follow-up investigation to their time frame.
Yeah.
Because you want the client to know you did everything possible to find answers for them. So yeah, just always, credibility, privacy, client first, and then just have fun with it. Because it's a fun field. We have a great time with it.
Yeah, it looks like fun. So
Yeah, you got to come out sometime. We'll take you out. Have some
Oh.
fun.
I will. We will. I'll be down there in October, so we have plenty of time to figure that out.
Yeah.
So,
Enter-
ooh,
But thanks for everything. Yeah.
yeah. No, I mean, I appreciate you coming on. So we're approaching 2 hours, so it's been a pretty good learning experience. I learned something. I learned a few things. One of them being that skunks don't like water.
Yeah, that
So
was weird, huh? Boy.
that's something I love learning. So there's something right there. But before I let you go, if you don't mind, just letting everybody know one more time where they can find you and all that.
Yeah. Well, the team is hauntedSouthFlorida.org is the website, Instagram, Facebook. And as we've been talking, the evidence, we put a lot of evidence up. Especially we have a box called the Devon's box, which is an incredible portal. So yeah, if you're interested in looking at evidence, or if you're in town, South Florida, the activities up there, we do public investigations. If you live down here, you think you have an investigation, let me know. We don't charge for investigations. We're there to just look for answers. And then for me, it's Long Hair Ghost Hunter. I'm putting up a new website. It's not up yet, .org, but I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. And sometimes I get lax on that, so don't hate me for it. But the hauntedSouthFlorida.org is, we put a lot of really cool stuff up there. The ladies do a great job at that.
Nice.
You know,
And check out his YouTube, long haired Ghost
Ghost-
Hunter too, as well on there, right?
yeah, because like I said, it's just an educational series.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
I go through how to do it, how to find stuff, all the tools, even the basic stuff, like cat balls or EMF meters. I do a lot on EMF meters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And the book should be on a week or two, I think. I'll let you know.
All right. Well, it'll probably be out by the time this episode is posted. So
Cool.
so I can wherever you're selling it at or putting
Yeah,
it out at.
It'll be on Amazon.
All right.
Usually my name is Timothy Arnwine.
Yeah.
All my books are on there. So if you have someone with autism, there's a book about autism from a father's perspective.
Okay.
I have a book on handling medical emergencies for lay people. I get bored. I go on these tangents. It's like,
all right, because I was gonna say if there's like a specific spot for all, obviously there is. It's on Amazon, but I was gonna say like I could put the link in the show notes.
okay.
So people can find it. But we can just say, hey, just type in Timothy Arnwine on Amazon and his books should come up for you. If they don't, then you misspelled it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's okay. It's usually Timothy Busfield, the actor. Then you put in the AR, then it pops up. So yeah, but it's been fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking the time to come on. So, guys, that is the show. Please check Timothy's stuff out. Again, long haired on everything, or haunted South Florida. Again, if you guys have any paranormal experiences, anything weird you want to talk about, you can get me at wheretheweirdonesare@gmail.com. I really enjoyed listening to Tim talk today. I've heard a lot of good things about him from previous people that have had on that are a part of his investigation team, and I think he bestowed quite a bit of wisdom upon us today. So
sometimes I rattle too much. Sorry about that.
No, it's 100% okay. If people didn't talk, then this wouldn't be much of a show.
Well, but if you want, I mean, if anybody has questions about equipment or stuff, they can reach out to Long Hair Ghost Hunter, my Gmail, if they have questions about any equipment and things like that. Because I've done that for years. If people, they're saying, hey, this isn't working, why? Then actually, or equipment I've used and tried and found to be okay, or it rocks, things like that. So
Awesome, man. Awesome. Again, it was a pleasure, Tim. So, with that, everybody, stay weird.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky, when the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day. Make a wish.